The moment your paycheck hits your account, you've got maybe 10 seconds before your brain starts spending it. That thing in your cart suddenly feels justified. Takeout tonight feels earned. 10 seconds and the money already has plans, and you didn't make a single one of them on purpose. And then, somehow, by the time the next paycheck rolls around, it's just gone. Not you bought a car gone, just quietly gone. You don't remember any big purchases. The numbers back down to almost nothing, and the whole thing starts over.
I've got a buddy, let's call him Dave, who makes solid money. Good job, no crazy expenses, nothing dramatic going on. He's pulling in about $65,000 a year, which after taxes puts roughly $4,200 a month in his checking account. And every single payday, he texts me some version of, "I don't get it, I make decent money. Where does it all go?" And every single time, I'd ask him the same question. What did you do with your paycheck the day it landed? And every single time, the answer was nothing. It just sat in his checking account with everything else, and his brain treated all of it like one big pile of fine to spend. Here's the thing about that pile. The problem isn't how much Dave was spending. The problem is that Dave was making financial decisions in real time every single day with a brain that's tired and a bank balance that's constantly moving around. And a tired brain making constant tiny decisions is going to lose to a system every single time. Every time.
My name's Matt, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, financial psychology, and why the people who seem effortlessly good with money usually aren't actually more disciplined than Dave, they're just automated. If you want a specific routine you can run every single time you get paid that takes almost all of this off your plate, hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if it ends up making payday feel a little less chaotic. So let's actually fix Dave's problem, because once you see why it happens, the fix makes a lot more sense. Every financial decision you make costs you something. Decision fatigue. Same reason you're way more likely to order delivery on a Thursday night after a long week than on a Sunday morning when you're rested. Your brain has a limited stock of good decisions per day, and by 9 p.m. when you're staring at your bank app wondering if you can afford takeout, you've already burned through most of that stock on work, on people, on 100 other things. So what happens? You take the path of least resistance, and with money, the path of least resistance is almost always spending. It's easy, it's immediate, and saving requires a decision you have to make and then actively not undo. Every day you don't automate this is another day you're handing that decision to a tired version of yourself. And most days, tired you loses.
The fix isn't more willpower. Dave doesn't need to want it more. The fix is a routine, something that happens the moment money hits your account, every single time. So the decision only gets made once when you set it up instead of over and over forever. Here's the routine. 5 things in this order every time you get paid. First thing, before you think about spending anything, a chunk of your paycheck moves straight into savings or investments immediately. Not end of month, not whatever's left over, the moment it lands. This is pay yourself first, and it works because it flips the order most people run on. Most people treat saving as whatever's left after everything else gets paid, but leftover is unreliable. Some months there's leftover, some months there isn't. If saving depends on leftovers, saving is optional. If saving happens first, everything else just adjusts around it. Let's use Dave's actual numbers. He takes home $4,200 a month. If he automatically moves 10%, $420 into a high-yield savings account the morning his paycheck lands, he never even sees it in his checking account. It's just gone. And here's what's fascinating about this. After 2 months, Dave told me he didn't actually feel the $420 leaving. He just adjusted naturally to having $3,780, the same way he would have adjusted to a slightly lower salary. But that $420 a month, invested consistently at an 8% annual return, turns into roughly $75,000 over 10 years, from a transfer he set up in about 4 minutes and never thought about again.
If Dave bumped that number to 20%, $840 a month, he's looking at about $150,000 over that same decade. Same 4-minute setup, just a different number in the automation. The amount matters less than the automation. A small amount moved automatically the day you're paid beats a larger amount moved eventually every single time, because eventually basically never shows up. Second thing, and this is the one almost
everyone gets backwards, including Dave, for years. Before any spending happens, your fixed essentials, rent, utilities, insurance, the stuff that happens every month no matter what, get moved into their own separate account right after your savings transfer. Dave's fixed essentials looked like this. Rent, $1,200. Car insurance, $140. Utilities averaged about $160. Phone bill, $85. That's $1,585 every single month, no matter what. Money that was already spent the moment it arrived, whether Dave thought about it that way or not. But Dave didn't think about it that way. He'd look at $4,200 in his account and feel like he had $4,200, not $3,780 after savings, and definitely not $2,195 after savings and essentials. He felt like he had $4,200, and he spent like he had $4,200. And then the rent came out, and the insurance came out, and suddenly he's at $1,000 2 weeks before payday, wondering what happened. Move the $1,585 into a separate bills account the day you're paid, and by the time you look at your checking account, what you see is what you actually have, not money wearing a disguise, secretly already promised to your landlord.
I asked Dave once, where does your rent money sit between paydays? He looked at me like it was a weird question. In my checking account. Where else? Right next to his coffee money and his lunch money and his impulse Amazon purchase money. Same pile. And his brain cannot tell the difference between a dollar that's spoken for and a dollar that's free, because they look exactly the same sitting in a checking account. Third thing, you're spending money. And I want to be really clear, this is not something to feel guilty about. Whatever's left after savings and essentials is genuinely yours. Groceries, going out, that hobby, whatever makes your actual life good. For Dave, after $420 to savings and $1,585 to essentials, he's left with $2,195. That's his number. That's what he has for the month. And every dollar of it is actually free. No hidden obligations, no rent sneaking up on him in 3 weeks. Just $2,195 he can spend without doing the mental math every single time. That's actually a pretty comfortable number for a lot of people. The thing that made Dave feel broke wasn't his spending. It was the fact that he was spending money that wasn't really his to spend because it hadn't been separated yet. Once it was separated, the same behavior that used to leave him panicking near the end of the month left him completely fine. This is where a lot of budgeting advice goes wrong. People build something so tight there's zero room to breathe, and a system with no room to breathe doesn't survive contact with real life. A routine that makes you miserable is a routine you quit in 2 months. The goal isn't to squeeze every dollar until it screams. The goal is to make sure your spending money is actually genuinely yours, cleared for takeoff, not secretly needed somewhere else.
Fourth thing is a little more advanced, but honestly one of the best moves in the whole routine. This is for the stuff that doesn't happen every month, but you know is coming. Car maintenance, annual subscriptions, holiday gifts, that dentist visit you keep putting off because it's never the right month. Here's a real example. Dave drives an older car. Over the years, he's averaged about $900 a year in maintenance. Tires, brakes, oil changes, whatever comes up. That's $75 a month. He also spends about $600 on holiday gifts across December. That's $50 a month. His gym membership renews annually in March for $360. That's $30 a month. Add it up, and Dave has about $155 a month worth of irregular expenses that were invisible in his budget because none of them hit in a predictable month. So what actually happened? Every time one of these showed up, it felt like an emergency. A $300 brake job in October felt catastrophic. A $600 holiday season felt like it came out of nowhere. Not because the money wasn't there. Dave was making $65,000 a year, but because none of it was being held aside. It was all sitting in the same pile, feeling spendable, getting spent. Take those irregular annual costs, add them up, divide by 12. Dave's $155 a month goes into a separate sinking fund account automatically the day he gets paid. When October rolls around and the brakes need replacing, he opens that account, the money is sitting there, and the whole thing takes about 4 minutes. Not a crisis, not a credit card charge, just a bill getting paid from the account that existed specifically for exactly that kind of thing.
Fifth thing, and this is the one almost everybody skips, which is a shame because it's genuinely what keeps the whole system alive. Once a month, not every payday, just once a month, you check in. 10 minutes. You're not rebuilding anything from scratch. You're just asking, Did the percentages still make sense this month? Did anything shift? Dave got a $5,000 raise last year. Without a monthly check-in, he would have just absorbed that extra money into his checking account and spent it the same way he spent everything else. Instead, he caught it at his monthly review, bumped his savings transfer from $420 to $560, keeping 20% going to savings instead of 10%, and redirected the rest toward his irregular expenses account, which had been running a little low. This exists because life moves. Rent goes up. Subscriptions you forgot about keep charging. A raise lands and disappears if you're not paying attention. Without this check-in, the system slowly drifts out of sync with your actual life, and by the time you notice, it's been wrong for months. 10 minutes once a month keeps that from ever becoming a real problem. And here's what ties the whole thing together. None of these 5 things require you to be disciplined in the moment. That's the entire point. You're not counting on future you to make a good call while tired or stressed or staring at something you want to buy. You're counting on past you, the version of you who set this up once on a normal Tuesday with a clear head. Think about your phone bill. You don't wake up every month and decide whether to pay it. It just happens. Nobody calls that impressive discipline. It's just how the payment is set up. That's the relationship you want with steps 1, 2, and 4. Not things you do, things that just happen every single payday, whether you're paying attention or not.
For account structure, at minimum, you want 4 places for money to live. Checking, only your spending money lives here, so whatever number you see when you open the app is actually spendable. A savings or investment account for step 1, ideally somewhere slightly annoying to access so it doesn't become, let me just borrow from this real quick money. A bills account for step 2, holding only your fixed essentials, and a sinking fund account for step 4 for those irregular expenses. Which bank or app you use matters way less than the separation itself. People always ask what percentages to use. Honestly, the exact numbers matter a lot less than people think. Dave runs something close to 20% to savings, about 38% to essentials, and the rest to spending and his sinking fund combined. That works for his income and his city. Someone paying higher rent is going to have a higher essentials percentage, and that's completely fine. The percentages aren't really the point. Having percentages, any percentages, consistently automated is the point. Dave, by the way, set this whole system up in about 20 minutes on a Saturday morning. First month, nothing dramatic happened, which was exactly the point. Second month, the car battery died. He opened his sinking fund, transferred the money, paid for it, and that was the end of the story. No panic text to me asking if he could move money around without touching his savings. Just a battery getting replaced and a completely normal rest of the week. That's what this routine is actually supposed to feel like. Not impressive, not a transformation story, just payday coming and going and everything working the way it was supposed to, quietly, automatically, in the background. Payday shouldn't feel like the start of a countdown to broke. Ideally, it should feel like basically nothing, because by the time you notice it happened, everything that needed to happen already did. I'm Matt, thanks for watching.